Welcome to the class. Last class we have discussed about Carnot cycle. This class we will be discussing about Rankine cycle. Before going to discuss about Rankine cycle, let us see what are the limitations in the Carnot cycle. Okay. So this is the schematic diagram of Carnot cycle. So here the major components are four major components are turbine, condenser, compressor, and boiler. Okay. What are the four processes? Isentropic expansion through the turbine, isothermal heat rejection through the condenser, and isothermal compression in the compressor, and isothermal heat addition in the boiler. Okay, these are the four processes which are we already discussed in the last class. Okay, now if you observe this TS diagram carefully, see the whole process 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. The Carnot cycle, the total cycle is inside this dome. Okay, so here the problem is, if you look at this efficiency, what is the efficiency is Carnot cycle efficiency is T1 minus T3 by T1. Okay, if we increase the T1 we can increase the efficiency. Okay, in that point of view, see here the critical temperature is 370 degrees centigrade. It is around 370 degrees centigrade. So here we cannot operate this cycle beyond the 370 degrees centigrade. We cannot operate them at higher temperatures because the cycle is situated below this dome. So we cannot operate this cycle beyond this dome. Okay, so that is the limitation in the Carnot cycle. Okay, the other major limitation is, if you look at this point 4, so here this line is the saturated liquid line, this line is the saturated steam line. Okay, but here, what is the position of the point 4 here? If the point is on saturated liquid line, that is pure liquid. If the point is on saturated steam line, which means that is pure steam. But here the point 4 is situated just below the liquid line, which means it is not pure liquid. It contains two phases, water and vapor. It is a water vapor mixture will be there at the point 4. Here the problem is we don't have such compressors to compress the water vapor mixture. So of course we can make the type of compressor, the efficiency will be low. Okay, so that is the limitation in the Carnot cycle. Okay, the other thing is here 2 to 3. The 2 to 3, the steam is expanding through the turbine. Okay, so during this expanding there will be more moisture. So we know that the water has the higher density when compared with the vapor. Okay, because of this higher moisture, it will impinge on the turbine blades. While passing through the turbine, it will impinge on the turbine blades. So there will be erosion on the blades. So it will damage the turbine blades, and consequently there will be decrease in the efficiency. Okay, so these are the limitations in the Carnot cycle. Okay, what Rankine he has done. See, uh, so before that, let me clear all these things. Okay. What he done? So he extended this point 4 up to saturated liquid line. Okay. And also he extended this point beyond the saturated steam line. Okay, which means here when we extend this line up to saturated liquid line, which means so the total the mixture is converted into liquid. Okay, so the other thing is he extended this point beyond the steam line. That means it is the here steam is getting superheated. So if it crosses the this steam line, automatically this T1 will increase. If the T1 increases, the efficiency of the cycle will increase. Okay. With these modifications, the Rankine developed a cycle. That cycle is called Rankine cycle. Okay. Now, so let us discuss about Rankine cycle. This is the topic of our interest. This is the interest of our topic. See, here again, four processes are there: isentropic expansion in a turbine, constant pressure heat rejection in a condenser, isentropic compression in a pump, constant heat pressure heat addition in a boiler. Okay, the difference between Rankine cycle and Carnot cycle is what are the four processes in Carnot cycle? There are two isentropic process and two isothermal process. But coming to Rankine cycle, here two isentropic process and two constant pressure process. Here heat rejection and heat addition taking place at the constant pressure. That is the difference between the Rankine cycle and Carnot cycle. Okay. Okay. Before discussing about TS diagram, let us see the process. So this is the schematic diagram of the Rankine cycle. Here also again four main components are turbine, condenser, pump and boiler. Okay, so the steam from the boiler enters into the turbine. Through the turbine, it will when it passes through the turbine, the steam will expand and it enters into the condenser. Inside the condenser, the water vapor mixture converted into pure water, and this water enters into the pump. The function of the pump is it converts the it increases the pressure of the liquid, high pressure to low pressure to high pressure, and this after getting pressurized, this liquid enters into the boiler. Okay, the function of the boiler is it converts the water into steam. Again the steam enters into the turbine. This is the cyclic process. Okay, now if you look at the TS diagram, so just forget about this 1 dash 2 dash. Let us see 1 2 3 4 1. So this is the cycle, complete cycle, complete Rankine cycle. So see what is happening in the turbine. The process 1 to 2, the steam is expanding isentropically. So here 1 to 2 is a vertical line. So since it is isentropic process, so that entropy is the constant. Process 2 to 3. What is happening in the condenser? In the process 2 to 3, this water vapor mixture, is converting into pure liquid. So that's why this is the point 2 to 3. This water vapor mixture is converting into pure liquid. So that's why this point is on the saturated liquid line. Okay. Next, 3 to 4. 3 to 4 is isentropic compression. So since again it is isentropic process, so 3 to 4 is the straight vertical line. Okay. Now the next process is 4 to 1. 4 to 1 through the boiler. What is happening in the boiler? The water is converting into steam. So initially this is the water. So this water heat is slowly getting heated. The temperature increasing from A to 1. So here the temperature is constant. Why? Because there is a phase change. It is a latent heat. Here this is a latent heat. So here this is the saturated liquid line. This line is the saturated vapor line. So there is a phase change. The water is converting into steam, and the steam again it enters through the turbine. This is the complete cycle. Okay. This is about Rankine cycle. Okay, now actually different types of power plants are there. uh, Fossil fuel vapor power plant, and the geothermal power plant, solar power plant, and the nuclear power plant. So many power producing power plants are there. But here the common thing is the cycle is same. The cycle is Rankine cycle. In non power plants, the cycle is the Rankine cycle. But the difference is the heat addition. The heat addition in the boiler is different. Okay, for example, if you take the fossil fuel vapor power plant, see here. So what is happening in the boiler? The water is converting into steam. How it is converting into steam? So here we are supplying the heat energy. So how how we are giving the heat energy? By burning the coal. Here the fossil fuel means it is coal. When we burn the coal, it will generate the heat. That heat passing through the boiler, and it converts the water into the steam. Okay, so here energy source is the coal. So this is regarding fossil fuel vapor power plant. Okay, so see what is happening here. This cycle we already discussed. Boiler, from the boiler the steam enters into the turbine. So when the steam passes through the turbine, there will be work done. Work output will be there. So that is the mechanical work. So this mechanical work, it will rotate the generator. The function of the generator is it convert the mechanical energy into electrical energy. Okay, and the expanded steam enters into the condenser, here getting condensed. After getting condensed, it is passing through the pump. Again it will that high pressure water enters into the boiler. Here this water is converting into steam. So this cycle we already discussed. So the only difference is here, uh, we should our area of interest is how we are generating a heat, how we are converting the water into steam. Here how we are converting? By using coal. So when by burning the coal, it generates a heat. With that heat we are converting the water into steam in the boiler. Okay, that you should remember here. Now coming to nuclear vapor power plant. So observe carefully. Here also the same cycle, same Rankine cycle. The only change is here how here the boiler, the water is converting into steam. What is the energy source here? See here the energy source is so here there will be a reactor containment. So from the reactor vessel, the there will be energy. The heat is transferring through the boiler. This water is converting into the steam. So here the source is the energy vessel. But in case of fossil fuel vapor power plant, how we are getting the energy? By burning the coal. But here from the reactor vessel. So that is the difference between nuclear vapor power plant and fossil fuel vapor power plant. But the cycle is same. Cycle is the Rankine cycle. This Rankine cycle contains the same devices: turbine, condenser, pump, and boiler. Okay. Now, the other type of power plant is solar thermal vapor power plant. Okay, so here also same. The this power plant also operating on same Rankine cycle, but here how in the boiler how water is converting into vapor. Here there is a solar. So from the solar, so there is a heat energy passing through the boiler. So through the in that boiler, so water is converting into heat by using the solar energy. We are here converting the water into steam. So that is the difference between earlier power plant and this power plant. Here energy, here source resource is solar. So the other power plant is geothermal vapor power plant. Here here also again same. This plant also operating on Rankine cycle, but here how this water is converting into steam means from geo, from the underground, there will be hot water or steam supply into the boiler. So this water inside the, it exchanges the heat with the water and it converts the water into the steam. Okay, so these are the different power plants: geothermal vapor power plant, solar vapor power plant, and fossil fuel power plant, nuclear power plant. So all these four power plants, the common thing is all four power plants are operating on same cycle, which is Rankine cycle. But the difference is how the water is converting into steam. So if you take the geothermal, here we are getting the heat from the underground. But if you take the nuclear power plant, uh, if you are getting the energy from the nuclear vessel. If you take the solar power plant, we are getting the energy from the solar. Okay. If you take the fossil fuel, we are getting the energy from the coal. So these are the main differences between all these four power plants. But the common thing is same cycle. All these four cycles are operating on the Rankine cycle. Okay. Now let us see one by one all four components. Here we are going to discuss about, we are going to find about work done in the turbine, and heat rejection in the condenser, and heat addition in the boiler. Okay, and heat and work input to the pump. All these four things we are going to find out in the coming slides. Let us see one by one. First, turbine. Okay, so what is happening in the turbine? In the turbine, the water is converting into steam. So there is a isentropic expansion. So here on TS diagram, 1 to 2 is the isentropic expansion. Okay, so that's why here on TS diagram 1 to 2 is the straight vertical line. Okay, now when we apply the first law to this turbine, so you see this turbine is the open system. Why? Because the steam is entering into the system and leaving the system. Okay, the steam and entering the boiler, and sorry, the steam entering the turbine and leaving the turbine. So this is the open system, and also there is energy transfer also. So this is the open system. So when we apply first law to the open system, so what is the equation? This we already know from the first law. Heat minus work equals to net change in energy. So energy at out minus energy at in, energy at inlet of the turbine, energy at outlet of the turbine. But here we have to consider the enthalpy, kinetic energy and potential energy at the outlet as well as in the inlet also. Okay, if we simplify this equation, we can write it as heat minus work equals to m dot h1 h2 minus h1, there is a change in enthalpy, v2 square minus v1 square by 2, change in kinetic energy, z2 minus z1, change in potential energy. Okay, so this is the equation when we apply the first law to the open system. So because since turbine is the open system. Okay, now if you look at the process 1 to 2, what is the process 1 to 2? 1 to 2 is the isentropic expansion. So it is a reversible adiabatic process. So there will be no heat transfer. So this Q equals to 0. Okay, and also generally we neglect the kinetic energy and potential energy. Okay, so now what will be the final equation? Minus W equals to m dot into H2 minus H1. Okay, but if we remove this sign, W equals to m dot into H1 minus H2. So finally we can write it as WT, work done by the turbine, divided by mass flow rate, equals to H1 minus to H2. Okay, here W by m dot is work done per unit mass, is H1 minus H2 in the turbine. Now coming to other component, condenser. So here condenser also open system. Why? Because the water is entering into the mixture entering into the steam and leaving the steam. So there is a mass flow and also as well as energy flow also there. Energy transfer is there. So this is the open system. Again we apply first law to the open system. We know that this is the equation, heat minus work equals to m dot into here H3 minus H2. So since here the process is 2 to 3. So 2 to 3 the water vapor mixture is converting into water, pure water. So the process is 2 to 3. So H3 minus H2 plus V3 square minus V2 square by 2. This is the kinetic energy, change in kinetic energy, plus Z3 minus Z2. This is the change in potential energy. Okay. But see here what is happening? Here there is a heat rejection at the constant pressure. Okay. There is no work. So here the term W is 0. So generally we neglect the kinetic energy and potential energy. Okay, when we neglect the kinetic energy, potential energy and the term 0, so what is the final equation? Q equals to m dot into H3 minus H2. Okay, but here, so here what is happening in the condenser? There is a heat rejection. That means here sign is minus Q. So the final equation will be Q equals to m dot H2 minus H3. So we can write it as Q out heat rejection divided by m dot equals to H2 minus H3. Okay, here Q dot Q out divided by m dot is heat heat from the working fluid to the cooling water per unit mass. Okay, the other component is pump. Here, so this is also open system. So when we apply first law to the open system, so the equation is Q heat minus work equals to m dot into here what is the process from 3 to 4. 3 to 4 is the isentropic process. So the here the pressure increases from low pressure to high pressure. So since the pressure is increasing, there is a change in temperature also, 3 to 4. Okay, see how the this equation how we can find the work done from this equation. See, since it is an isentropic process, so it is a reversible adiabatic process. The term Q equals to 0. Okay, and generally kinetic energy, potential energies are 0. So what will be the final equation? Minus W equals to H4 minus H3. Okay, but here what is happening in the compressor? It is compressing the fluid, it is compressing the liquid. Here the water is the system. Here work done on the system. So there will be a minus sign. So minus into minus plus. So W equals to m dot into H4 minus H3. Okay. So finally we can write it as work input to the pump divided by m dot per unit mass equals to H3 minus H4. H4 minus H3. So the other component is boiler. So this is also open system. So when you apply first law to the open system, here what is happening in the boiler? The water is converting into steam. So this is the process 4 to 1. Okay. So what is heat addition at constant pressure? Okay, the boiler heat addition at constant pressure. There is a heat addition at the boiler. So to convert the water into steam. So see, if you simplify this equation, when you apply first law to the boiler, so obviously kinetic energy and potential energies are negligible. But here just we are adding the heat. There is no work. So the term work is, it will be 0. Okay. So now what would be the final equation? Q equals to m dot into H1 minus H4. So this we can write it as Q in heat addition per mass per unit mass equals to H1 minus H4. So the final equation is heat addition per unit mass equals to H1 minus H4. So here in the previous slide we discussed about heat addition to the boiler. We derived equations for heat addition to the boiler, net work done by the turbine, work done by the turbine, and heat rejection from the condenser, and work input to the compressor per unit mass. Okay, those four equations we derived in the previous slides. Okay, so now we can find the thermal efficiency. What is efficiency? Net work done divided by heat addition. Okay, so heat addition at the boiler. So what is net work done? Work done by the turbine per unit mass minus work input to the compressor per unit mass divided by work addition in the boiler per unit mass. So this is the efficiency. So we already derived equation for work done by the turbine per unit mass, H1 minus H2, and also we derived equation for work input to the compressor per unit mass, which is H4 minus H3, and also we derived heat addition to the boiler, so which is H1 minus H4. Okay, now the total, now the thermal efficiency equals to H1 minus H2 minus H4 minus H3 divided by H1 minus H4. Okay, so this total equation is in terms of enthalpy. Now we can write the above equation in terms of heat. So how we can write in terms of heat? We know that from the first law, cyclic integral of work equals to cyclic integral of heat. Okay, so from now net work done equals to net heat addition or and heat subtraction. Okay, so now this equation we can write it as in terms of heat addition in the boiler per unit mass minus heat rejection in the condenser per unit mass divided by heat addition in the boiler per unit mass. So this if we simplify this equation, we can write it as 1 minus heat rejection in the condenser per unit mass divided by heat addition in the boiler per unit mass. Okay, so heat rejection per unit mass, this equation we already derived in the previous slides, so which is H2 minus H4, and heat addition per unit mass in the boiler, this equation also we derived, which is H1 minus H4. So the efficiency is H1 minus H2 minus H3 divided by H1 minus H4. Okay, so with this I'm stopping today. Okay, thank you.